Hello, my brothers and sisters of light and members of the holy priesthood of Celestine Light. You're going to see a video in a moment that shows 3 apostles doing the ordinance to cut a demon cord to someone. Now, there's 2 very similar priesthood ordinances that I'd like to talk about just a little bit today before I show you the video. The first is when someone has been inhabited by a demon. This is typically called possession by people in the world, but 99.999% of the time, this inhabitation or possession would be by a mid-level demon. Low-level demons simply aren't smart enough to be able to do it, and upper-level demons don't have a need to do it, as they can enjoy all the physical experiences and exert all of their evil influence just using a cord. So that allows the upper-level demons to achieve the same results as an inhabitation without the constraint of being limited to the actions of a single human, as they can cord many humans simultaneously. And when someone's inhabited, they will have a large portion of a single demon's energy actually residing within their physical body and attaching to all their energy centers. Another point to know is that multiple demons cannot inhabit a single person. The other demon just wouldn't allow it. They want that person all to themselves, and they would be at war with any demon who tried to get in there as well. Demons just don't like to share, especially with other demons. Now, the demon that's inhabiting someone, the demon does not control or command that person, but their influence is extremely strong as they're with that person 24/7, both when they're awake and in their dreams at night when they're asleep, influencing them. Now, the other way that demons can have this kind of influence on people is through a cord. So the first way is through an actual inhabitation, where they're actually residing inside that person's body energetically, and the other way is through a cord. Now, a cord is an energy connection between that person and the demon at some remote location. Could even be off the planet. Cords can go through dimensions. They can go through space and distance. None of that matters with a cord. But as I mentioned, not more than 1/10,000% are cords from upper level demons. Now, a mid-level demon can also do a cord. In fact, it's something that's much more prevalent than inhabitation. Inhabitations are difficult. It takes a lot for a demon to be able to inhabit someone, because they have to get that person to be, even if it's only momentarily, at the same level energetically as the demon is. Now, the demons are evil. They're at a very low level. So even a very bad human who's a criminal and does terrible things is still far above a demon. So in order for that demon to be able to inhabit that person, they have to degrade that person's life by influence with a cord that they've established first, and that person goes down, and eventually they reach a point that they're close enough to the demon that the demon can merge in with them into an inhabitation. Now, unless someone is a highly influential person, like a big politician, a very famous celebrity, or a high-ranking member of a clergy of a religion, someone who has influence over millions of people, then they're going to be corded by a mid-level demon. Only those really rare ones that have a lot of influence over people would an upper-level demon cord. Now, much more typical, as I said, than an upper-level demon are the cords from mid-level demons. And if you were to put it in a percentage, approximately 70% of the people that are corded to mid-level demons. And as I said, less than 1/10,000% would actually be corded to an upper-level demon. And the rest, about 30%, would be corded by low-level demons. So low-level demons do not have the ability to inhabit a person, but they do have the ability to cord a person. And when they're corded, it's just to give you a difference between a cord and an inhabitation. When someone's corded by a demon, they are certainly under influence and being prompted to do things that are detrimental to them and other people. But it's not a 24/7 thing. And the intensity of the influence with a cord it's going to vary by the level and ability of the demon, but it's not going to be nearly as much as if someone's inhabited. Demons that have courted people are usually, but not always, hoping that at some point in the future that they'll be able to inhabit them if they can cause them through their cord and the influence in the cord to degrade their life low enough that they would be capable to be inhabited. Now, if someone has been inhabited by a demon, it's a whole different story, and the Priesthood Ordinance of Exorcism is required to purge the demon. The exorcism should be done by 3 apostles or high priests of the Elohimic priesthood, or a combination of the 3 individuals holding those priesthood offices. Now, it is possible for just a single high priest or a single apostle to do an exorcism, but the power is multiplied in any kind of priesthood ordinance, not just added when the ordinance is done by 2 or 3 or even more individuals. So for instance, if you just have one person, that's 1 times 1 equals 1. It's a power of 1. If you have 2 priesthood holders, it's not 1 plus 1 equals 2. It's 2 times 2 equals 4. So the power is 4 with 2 people versus 1. If you have 3 people, it's not 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3. It's 3 times 3 equals 9 times 3 equals 27. So you actually have 27 times more power than just a single priesthood holder. And it actually could be more than 27 times, because some priesthood holders by themselves have more power than others because of their experience. So, but at the minimum, it would be, with 3, it's going to be 27 times more powerful in the priesthood ordinance than just a single priesthood holder. Now, if someone's been courted by a low-level demon, then a single high priest or apostle can easily purge it with the ordinance that you're going to see on this video. If the court is to a mid-level demon, it would be wise to have 2 or 3 high priests or apostles to do the ordinance. Now, if it is the extremely rare instance of a cord to an upper-level demon, then it will require 3 apostles to do the ordinance successfully. Now, unless the person for whom the ordinance is being conducted, as I said, is a worldwide popular celebrity or a very senior politician of a country, or one of the highest members of the clergy of a religion, or someone else with great influence among hundreds of thousands of millions of people, again, I just want to emphasize, they will not be courted by an upper-level demon, and it will usually be an exorcism that is required, or a demon cord cutting for a mid-level demon, sometimes a low-level demon. Now, the easiest way, you need to ask yourself, well, how do I know if someone's inhabited or just courted? How do I know? And there are ways that you can know with an aura, but if you can't see or feel those ways, there has to be other ways that you can discern and make at least an assumption about what way someone is being influenced by the demon. Is it with a cord, or is it with an inhabitation? Is it with a mid-level demon or a low-level demon? So let's talk about some of the ways that you can discern that. The easiest way to discern whether someone's courted or inhabited by a demon is to note the aberrational behavior that that person is exhibiting and the extent of that aberrational behavior. So if someone starts acting or speaking in a totally out of character and detrimental way to themselves or to other people from the way that they would normally be accustomed to behaving and acting and speaking, but they only do that aberrational behavior in spurts and on occasions, that's going to be an indication of a demon cord. However, if they start acting in aberrational ways almost all the time, so that someone who knows them can hardly even recognize them, and their detrimental actions become very hurtful to themselves personally, such as frequently flying into fits of anger or rage, and thus alienating their friends and family and co-workers, or maybe they become big drinkers or drug users or super promiscuous sexually, or maybe they're obviously and frequently delusional in ways that they speak, and with those thoughts and things that they're talking about potentially being hurtful to them or others. Well, those are the type of indicators that someone has been actually inhabited by a demon. And that's just a small sample of conditions an inhabited person may exhibit. Now, it's easy to confuse someone that is inhabited with a person that's mentally ill. And in truth, many people who are mentally ill were driven to their madness because they were first inhabited by a demon. Now, sadly, in the case of people with severe mental illness, once a person has gone into that state, they're likely no longer inhabited by a demon. They're just left in the destroyed shell of their mind. The demon used them up. They got all the evil pleasure they could out of them, and then the demon voluntarily abandons them after they're only a husk of their former self and can no longer give the demon any pleasure by proxy with their physical body. Now, usually, an inhabitation, as I said, is a process that takes time. And that's something to remember as well, because you're going to see normally, not always, and I'll explain in a minute the exceptions to that, but normally you're going to see a gradual decline if that person just gets worse and worse in those things they say and do that are hurtful to themselves and others. Now, there are two exceptions to this, and that's usually with people that are inhabited rather than courted. And in those exceptions, the process to inhabit someone, even if they haven't been previously courted, can take just moments, even minutes. And the first way that can happen is if someone opens themselves up to being inhabited by calling on Lucifer. And they say, they open up, here I am, I need some help, and they're calling on Lucifer for that help. Well, by that call, by that open request to Lucifer, they voluntarily let down all of their natural defenses about being inhabited by demons. Some of those natural defenses were given by Elohim, and they just abandoned them. So because they're abandoned, they open themselves up to be quickly inhabited by a demon. Lucifer actually chooses a demon. If someone says, hey, call on Lucifer, and Lucifer says, okay, great. Well, let's see, what demon do I want to give the honor and pleasure of inhabiting this person? They give their favorite demon, or whoever's in their favor at that moment, the opportunity to do the inhabitation. Now, there is a little blessing here if you're a Celestine. If you're a Celestine, and you've been baptized, and you're a baptized Celestine, and you still have Celestine light in your heart, even if you may have gone far from the path at that moment in time that you call on Lucifer, if you still have Celestine light in your heart, Elohim gives you a special protection from demon inhabitation. You literally cannot be inhabited by a demon. You can still be courted by a demon, but you cannot be inhabited as long as you hold that Celestine light in your heart, even if you've fallen far away from the light in your actual life. So that's an important point to remember. Now, Ganesh, people who are not baptized Celestines, are not so fortunate. When a Ganesh calls upon a demon or on Lucifer, they will first be courted to a mid-level demon who will then work very quickly to inhabit them once they've degraded their life sufficiently to have that harmonic resonance that allows them to merge. Now, the other instance of a rapid inhabitation that can occur when a Ganesh who is a child of light by their good character and by their morals, but has not been a baptized member of Celestine Light. So there's a lot of children of light in this world, all over the world, who we don't know and they don't know us. But they're good people. They have good morals. They try to do right in their life. Someone like that, who's never taken drugs, and so their body's not accustomed to taking mind-altering drugs. If they get drugged with something like, say, a date rape drug, if they're a young lady and she gets drugged at a party or something by a date rape drug, the effect that drug has on a body that's not accustomed to having drugs like that is severe. And it momentarily destroys all their natural defenses. And a person in that case, because their body's unaccustomed to those drugs, they can easily be inhabited very quickly by a mid-level demon. So those are the two instances where a demon inhabitation, which is normally difficult and time-consuming, can actually be very quick. Number one, if someone actually calls on Lucifer, and number two, if it's a good moral person who is given a drug that alters their mind and they're not accustomed to having things like that in their body, then it just momentarily makes all their defenses drop. Now, if a demon is being exorcised, so they're inhabited, we want to get them out of the body, we're going to use the following priesthood ordinance that I'm going to talk about next. This ordinance will work whether or not the inhabited person is present. So if I'm in the United States and someone's over in England or the Congo or India, and they're inhabited and that they need to have that demon removed, it can be removed even if they are not present where the priesthood holders are who are doing the exorcism. So the thing is that when you have inhabitations and you're doing an exorcism, the demons know what's going on. They don't want to leave. It was really, really hard and took a long time for them to get into that person. They don't want to be exorcised out. So they will oftentimes fight the exorcism through the person's body. So whenever you have an exorcism, whether the person is present or the person is in some far away place, there needs to be helpers there that are prepared to keep that person to not do violent actions or run away from the exorcism. Sometimes you may even have to tie that person down because they get so violent trying to get the demons trying to not be exorcised that the person becomes very physically agitated and violent and may have to be actually tied down so they can't hurt themselves or others or run away. Exorcism doesn't take a long time, so we're not talking about if you're in somebody like one of those churches that do exorcisms and they actually can kill people, and you can look it up on the internet. People have been killed in exorcisms by other religions because they don't know how to do it, and they think, well, I'll just torture this person until the demon comes out because they can't take the torture anymore. Well, that may kill the person or permanently injure them, but it doesn't really affect the demon. But what we do with the Holy Priest of Celestine Light does. That demon is gone. It works. You do this ordinance, you have the priesthood authority, that demon's gone. All right, so let's talk about some of the things that you need to have to be able to do this ordinance. There are some preparations you need to do first. So prior to doing this priesthood ordinance, you will need to have some things that you're going to use in the ordinance. Now, a lot of ordinances, in fact, probably the most 95% of priesthood ordinances do not require any kind of other materials other than just the words you're speaking. The words you're speaking, laying on of hands, that's normally enough for most things. But when you're dealing with demons, they're a little tougher. You need to have a few extra items to help you along. And they're not the items you might suspect, like crystals or wands or something like that. So what are the things you need to have to be prepared to do this ordinance? I'm going to assume that we're doing it with 3, power of 3. You're going to need 3 glasses of water. You'll see why in a minute. You're going to need a little bit of cotton string. You're going to need a tool for roasting marshmallows. And you can get these simple, where they're just wire things with these 2 prongs on the end, or you can get a fancy one like this that has an extending arm that extends out. But you'll need one of those. You're going to need some dry kindling wood, and these are actually still too big. You want to get a little hatchet and split these at least in half so that they're thinner. And then last, you're going to want to have something to make a fire in, like this bowl. Now this bowl is great. What you do is you get 2 bricks because it has a hole in the bottom of it. And so you get 2 bricks, you set it on top of those bricks, and it allows air to come from underneath and through that hole and feed the fire. And you're going to take your sticks and you're going to build the fire inside the bowl. Now the bowl also holds a stick, so you can make a nice little teepee with the sticks as you build the fire pit, if you will, to get it ready to go. You can do that with multiple sticks, easily holding on the sides of the ceramic bowl. Okay, so that's all the things you need to do to be prepared. So the next thing you need to do as far as preparation is make sure you know the birth name of the person and their current location. Like, for instance, John Smith living in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Or, because there could be a lot of John Smiths, probably in Virginia Beach, so you have to know the exact address if it's a common name like John Smith. But if it's a less common name like Jean-Claude Whitaker, Well, that's probably not a very common name. So if you said Jean-Claude Whitaker in Virginia Beach, Virginia, you'd be zeroing in on that person. The main thing is if the person is not present with you at the time that you're doing the ordinance and they're in some far off location, you need to make sure you're providing enough information that it's very clear what person you're talking about, especially if it's a name that's a common name that could have multiple people that have that same name that may live in the same city. Alternatively, you can use their soul names. Soul names are unique. There's no two people in the world who have exactly the same soul name. So you could, if you have their soul name, just use their soul name. You do not need to use both of them. You can use either their given name in the city they live in or their soul name in the city they live in. Maybe you don't even know their whole soul name. Maybe you only know the first part of their soul name. But if they live in a place that doesn't have many people, then you can say the first part of their soul name and the place that they live. So for instance, we could say someone has a soul name, Ray Alith, living in Timbuktu. Okay, all right, so we got that set up. So now the 3 Elohimic priesthood members, either high priests or apostles, and if you'd have a mixed group, so you could have 2 high priests and apostle, 2 apostles and high priest, or 3 of the same, 3 high priests or 3 apostles. So the 3 Elohimic priesthood members conducting the ordinance should gather in a close circle around the fire. So you make the fire in the fire pit. Fire is burning up. The 3 Elohimic priesthood members gather around in a circle around the fire. And then these are the words that they say. And I'm going to assume that the person that we're doing this for is, let's say, Raquiel of Virginia Beach, Virginia. In the name of Elohim, with the power of 3, and our authority as high priest or apostles, or high priest and apostles of Celestine Light, we command the demon afflicting Raquiel of Virginia Beach to be gone and cast you into outer darkness. Be gone, demon. In the name of Yeshua of Nazareth, be gone. Now, be gone is said 3 times, and that's important. And I said this just in a calm voice. But if you're actually saying this, you wouldn't be saying it in a calm voice. So I'm going to say it now as you would say it if it was 3 apostles and you were saying it for real. In the name of Elohim, with a power of 3, and our authority as apostles of Celestine Light, we command the demon afflicting Raquiel of Virginia Beach to be gone and cast you into outer darkness. Be gone, demon. In the name of Yeshua of Nazareth, be gone. So that's how you say it. If you want it to have power, you got to expand your quo, and you do it in unison with each other, and you do it. And the last thing you do is immediately after saying the words of the ordinance, all 3 of the Elohimic priesthood holders who were doing the ordinance douse the fire by throwing the glasses of water on it. Okay, so that's ordinance number 1, to get rid of a demon that's inhabited someone. It is important to note that there are 2 ways that you can do the exorcism ordinance. The first way is where you're actually banishing the demon, in which case you say in the words you're saying to be gone and cast you into outer darkness. However, if you aren't actually casting them into outer darkness, you're not actually banishing them, you can be just expelling them from that person's body, in which case you would take out the wording cast you into outer darkness. Everything else would be the same. You would just take out the wording cast you into outer darkness. Now, why would you do one and not the other? Well, it actually takes more priesthood power to banish a demon than it does to expel them. So if you have some, for instance, newly ordained high priest, and they're not all that confident in their power yet, they may want to just do the expelling, where the demon is exorcised out of the person's body, but is not actually banished. And that's the only difference. All right, so in the cord cutting ordinance, and it's only done for people who actually have cords to demons rather than being inhabited, normally the cord will be to a mid-level demon. If it's just an ordinary person, it'll be to a mid-level demon. If it's someone who has great influence over tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, then it could be an upper-level demon. But you want to prepare ahead of time a few things. Now, just like the previous ordinance, you want to prepare with 3 full glasses of water. You also want to prepare your fire pit with your kindling wood and everything ready to go for that. But the other thing you want to take that cotton string, 100% cotton string, and you want to tie it on one end of the forked marshmallow cooker. So once you have it on one end like that, so it's ready to go, and we'll see how to use that at the end here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say the ordinance as it would be said by the 3 apostles who are standing around. The fire's been lit, the fire is going, 3 apostles are standing around it, holding hands, and they're going to say this ordinance. I'm going to say it with that power for someone named Raquel, soul named Raquel, who lives in Virginia Beach. In the name of Elohim, with a power of 3, and our authority as apostles of Celestine Light, we cut the cord of connection and command the demon afflicting Raquel of Virginia Beach to be gone. Be gone, demon. In the name of Yeshua of Nazareth, be gone. And once you've said that, you take your marshmallow cooker with your cord and you wrap that cord around the marshmallow cooker like this. And then you stick it into the fire. So the fire is going here. You stick it into the fire and it'll catch on fire and it will burn up to a crisp and be gone. That cord is symbolic of the demon cord that was connecting to the person, and it's burned away and it is forever gone. And immediately after you've finished that and you've said the words of the ordinance, you take the glasses of water, all 3 apostles, and you throw the water onto the fire and you douse the fire, and then you end by saying, "So be it." And you're done. Namaste.
In the name of Elohim, with a power of 3, and by our authority as apostles of Celestine Light, we cut the cord of connection and command the demon afflicting Zanzoroan of Iceland to be gone. Be gone, demon. In the name of Yeshua of Nazareth, be gone. So be it.
So be it.
It's a cauldron. All right, good job.